now, the National Hurricane Center just releasing its latest advisory on Hurricane Sandy and the storm's track. Sandy is still a Category 1 storm with 80-mile-per-hour sustained winds as it continues to head toward the East Coast. And with more on Hurricane Sandy, we bring in Joe Bastardi, the chief meteorologist at weatherbell.com. How dangerous could this storm be? And could it truly be something that we've never seen before?
Well, it's something that we've never seen before, but something that should have happened. Now, the reason why is if you look at hurricane tracks, and you look at some of the tracks that came in from the southeast, you would say, well, all we need to do is displace that track another 100 or 200 miles further north, and you would have had something like this. For instance, Isabel hit at Cape Hatteras. If it was 200 miles further north, it would have hit at the mouth of the Delaware Bay. Hurricane Hazel in 1954. Now, that's in Hazel came in at Myrtle Beach and moved north-northwest. All you had to do is take that path 200 miles further east, and you've got it.
It's something you've been actually talking about that we should have been preparing for a storm of this nature. But talk about this hurricane, or it could be a tropical storm, I suppose, by the time it
No, it'll be
It'll be wrapped, though, in what's being called a nor'easter. How does that change the type of weather and damage the storm?
Well, what's happening now is it's entrained in an upper air low pressure system, which is trying to disrupt it. But once that upper air low pressure system gets away, you'll see it tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow night begin to intensify. It'll first start moving out to sea, and because there is a huge blocking high, just like the 1950s, they had something called a Newfoundland wheel, where there was a massive blocking high in a lot of the summertime. That's why we got hit by 10 hurricanes up the east coast of the 1950s. That will stop it. It will turn it in. Upper air low pressure system dives in with wintry air on the western side. So you're getting a hurricane coming from the Gulf Stream, which is still warm enough to support the hurricane, heading northwestward into the mid-Atlantic states, even as cold air is pouring in from the west. Again, this is something that if you love the weather, and I've loved this since I was two, my dad's a meteorologist. He would pull out maps and say, why can't this happen? Why hasn't it happened? We used to always call it a shortcut storm.
Right.
The storm that came from the southeast that would hit in the mid-Atlantic states, and that's what we've got going on.
How much potential damage are we talking about? What type of devastation could this storm do to the most heavily populated area in the country?
Well, I think it's going to cause a similar amount of damage in billions of dollars as Irene, because you still have a lot of leaves on trees. You're going to have a prolonged period of hurricane-force winds. Plus, with it coming from the southeast, it does not have a lot of time to weaken coming in. And again, I believe it's going to intensify Saturday and Sunday as it gets out over the water before it turns back to the northwest. So unlike Irene, which everybody said, well, how come we didn't get stronger winds? Irene was coming up the coast but dragging in dry air from the west, so it disrupted the circulation. Still a $15 billion storm. This one comes right out of the southeast. And the problem you have with that is you look at Atlantic City's beaches or even down in Delaware, Maryland, or Long Island, those beaches face southeast. The water piles up and in rather than when the hurricane comes up, it pushes the water sideways. 1944 hurricane destroyed the entire Atlantic City boardwalk and passed 50, 60 miles to the east. This has the possibility, because of this, to have unprecedented storm surges. I believe it's a pick-your-poison situation where it's either the Delaware Bay in Philadelphia, where you have a storm surge coming up Delaware Bay, the flooding coming down, or if it's further north, you can send a storm surge back through Long Island Sound, where you're actually piling water up. So this is a very serious situation without trying to overhype it.
I would say I love seeing you, Joe, but next time, talk about I hope it's something else you're here to talk about.
Well, I'll come on and talk about nice weather. It's going to be beautiful in Texas. Nice and cool.
Thank you. That doesn't help us at all. Joe Bastardi, it was great to see you. And you have been talking about this exact kind of storm
for quite a while.
In memory.
Yeah.
Several years, Joe. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.
11 days.